I don't know where you've been, but you're going to respect this courtroom. My life has proven that it's not about where you come from, it's about where you're going. From a jailed youth who had my record expunged to becoming the youngest judge elected.
The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding.
In just 15 years. Ma'am, let me know when you want to go to rehab. Otherwise, I think you're a crackhead.
Absolutely not.
My goal is to inspire others to overcome their obstacles. You don't need him and his little raggedy roommate.
Thank you.
All while having a little fun on Mathis Court. You look like you're ready to lie right the first word out your mouth. This is Mathis Court with Judge Mathis.
Brandon Lawrence is suing Harry Lawrence in the amount of $3,900. Mr. Lawrence claims he let his son move into his apartment building and says his son violated the lease when he got a roommate who wasn't approved.
State your name.
My name is Brandon Lawrence.
Sir?
I'm Harry Lawrence.
All right, and sir, you're suing your son for $3,900, alleging he owes this money for breaking a lease.
That's correct, sir.
Start with you.
Well, I am the owner of an apartment building. My son, Harry, is a recent graduate from college. He doesn't have a job, or he didn't have a job at the time of the lease. He had told me that he was tired of having roommates. So the opportunity arose for me to help out my son by leasing an apartment for half price. Normally I could get $1,300 for the lease, but because he was my son, I wanted to help him. I only charged him $650 per month.
Now, was he half working?
No, he was not half working.
So where did you expect to get that half from? Did he ever get a job, put it that way?
Yes, he did.
Okay, how long after moving in did he get a job?
He immediately had a job.
Okay, well, what are we talking about then? So what happened? You all always gotten along as father, son?
We got along real well. I was married to the tenant that moved in. We had a lease agreement. He was to live in the apartment by himself.
You were married to the tenant. You were saying your ex-wife, what about her?
She became the tenant in his apartment, the apartment that I own.
Okay.
And I was not notified. She had been living there for 4 months. And I was very concerned about that because she has a history of manipulation. The reason we separated, the reason we got a divorce 20 years ago was because she was running up credit faster than Usain Bolt runs track. And it was piling up, and I couldn't take it any longer. It was a matter of trust, and I couldn't trust her.
You couldn't trust her shopping habits? Is that what you're saying?
She was not telling the truth about all of the credit that she was running up, ruining it for me. And the last straw
What percent was a lie?
Pardon me?
In other words, if you had to pick a percentage, 20% more than she really told me, or she spent half as much more as she said she had spent, how far over the confessed budget did she go?
We were at more than $100,000 in debt that I didn't know about. The last straw.
Okay, now you're talking about something.
Yeah.
$100 grand you didn't see coming.
The last straw in our relationship was when she tried to get a loan using his information. She wanted a personal loan for herself using my son's information, which would have ruined his credit into the future.
And ma'am, can I speak with you if you mind? You don't got to give you a chance to defend yourself. State your name.
I'm Kelly Willow.
Yeah, now how do you want to respond to all these allegations that you're a shopping addict? You dope fiend?
No,
Crackhead?
sir. No, sir.
Shopping addict? Same thing.
No,
Any
sir.
addiction is an addiction. I can send you to shopping NA.
I did do a
shopping
lot
AA.
of shopping. I had my own business before we were married, and it folded. And I did not tell him about my debt until about a year into our marriage. That is true.
No, but you said you continued to accumulate debt as if you were going shopping often or something. He said you consistently ran up credit card charges and lied to him about it. That's what
Yes.
I'd like for you to address.
That
And
is
for you to dodge that makes me think it's true. Go ahead.
That is true. And
You are
I
a
came
dope
clean
fiend.
a year. No, I'm sorry.
No, I mean shopping addict. From people, when I say addict, I look at them as any other, like you're a dope fiend. Gambling addict, you're a dope fiend. Go ahead.
Yes,
Yes, you are. So I just admitted that. Now you're on the first road to recovery when you say, yes, I am. Go ahead.
Yes, and I tried to hide it from him for the first year of our marriage, and then I did come clean, and I tried to get the loan because I wanted to
tried
pay.
to get help.
I
Go
was
ahead.
trying to pay it off without anyone knowing, and then they called and spoke to, the loan officers called and spoke to my husband just by accident, and he denied the application before I was even approved. So
that's how we found out. And you couldn't recover from that to keep your marriage, keep your family intact?
At the time, he did try to help with it, but I was so far
You're so far
into
gone.
Coming up on Mathis Court with Judge Mathis.
I'm 71 years
Oh,
old.
you definitely got to pay. What you think that's why you ain't getting nothing. These young girls, you got to pay them. You 71?
That's right.
What you thought you was going to get freebies at 71?
Well,
You
Judge,
are a sugar daddy.
If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878.
You're watching Mathis Court with Judge Mathis. This is Mathis Court with Judge Mathis.
Mathis Court is back with the case of Brandon Lawrence, who was suing his son, Harry Lawrence, for unpaid rent.
Audience, here today, any addiction destroys your family and you as a person. I'm not talking about you in particular, where it destroyed your family, but it was her addiction. So I just want to make that plain, and that's why I use words such as dope fiends and crackheads for people who are addicted to other things. Because I want to remind you, you're just like a crackhead on the street. That's because your addiction is different from them. You ain't no different. You ain't no different than the crackhead. You ain't no different than the dope fiend. Addicted to something that is causing harm to your family and to yourself. All right, so now I understand why the family was broken up. So that's what I wanted to know. People want to know what happened here. Just not about you suing your son, and they want to know what happened with your family.
That's correct.
I'm not the only person that's nosy. You got a lot of nosy people, and they want to know your personal business. So I'm going to get it out of you so they can hear it. Go ahead.
well,
You get caught cheating?
I'm sorry?
Did you ever get caught cheating?
Well,
Does she
I do not have a halo over my head,
You don't
Judge.
know. You don't have a halo.
I do
over
not.
your head.
I do not. But
So you drove her to drinking or to
no,
shopping?
No,
That's
I
what I'm
tried.
saying. You drive people to an addiction. Your cheating drove her to the store every month.
Well, Your
One
Honor,
for you, she wouldn't have been addicted to the store.
Your Honor, I'm not here before this court to pretend as if I am a perfect individual. No, of course I've made mistakes. But like you said, when you reach out and you admit your mistakes, then you're on the road to recovery.
That's
So
right.
each time that I've slipped up, made a mistake.
Each time? How many times?
Well,
I feel sorry for you. Let me give you some money to go shopping. You need to go do some more shopping from what I'm hearing here. How many times? Somebody,
Well,
average married man might get busted one time and he learned his
I'm not-
lesson. My God.
Judge, I wasn't.
Let me get over to your son. How was he as a dad, and how is he still as a dad? He seems like he's a good dad and a fun dad.
Yeah.
It just sounds like it's between him and your mom, that beef. But
Yeah.
you tell me your feelings.
I always loved my dad. We grew up in a good environment. He was a pillar of the family. He did horseback riding, and he also did, tenant work. So I always felt like he was there, and he was always around and super supportive.
So since the separation, when did the separation or divorce occur?
We're talking about nearly 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You
He
all-
was 3 years old. Harry was
great.
3.
Well, great. It didn't hurt as much. You weren't as aware of it as
Yeah.
much. So it didn't affect your behavior as much because the adolescents, divorces affect their behavior significantly. So since that time, you all maintained a good relationship, though.
I think so. I mean, I lived with my dad. My mom was allowed visitation, so we'd see her on weekends while she was slowly building up a career.
You
And
know, that's all that matters is
Yeah.
you think so.
I think it was great. I love both my
Let me
parents.
give both of them a hand then. Yeah, I like to hear that. When a young man comes in and says he likes both of his parents, despite their flaws, both of them are flawed, it sounds like. That's what I like to hear. All right, give me the specifics on the lawsuit now.
Well, Your Honor, I set up a lease. It was a one-year lease. I was staying away for obvious reasons. He wanted his space. I was trying to give him his autonomy. I went over one time, and one of the tenants there informed me that there was a woman, roommate of his, and he described...
That comes in with a lot of shopping bags every day.
That's right. Came in...
Some strange woman comes in with Gucci and
Yes,
Louis
exactly.
Vuitton every day.
You got that right. And immediately I knew that he had a roommate that was my ex-wife. So I made a phone call, and he then informed me that she had been living in his apartment, the building that I own, for 4 months. And he didn't inform me. And all I want my son to be is personally responsible and honest. And I know that if he allows his mother, who is a manipulative person, to be with him all the time, he will eventually become the manipulator that she is. And in fact, I think that's what happened.
How old are you, young man?
I'm 24.
You seem like a well-adjusted, fine young man.
Yeah.
So you need to stay home. You need to stay with your mother and keep getting manipulated. If that's what she does, if that's how she produces such a fine young man
Apparently.
like this, she needs to continue. You're just mad.
Well,
You're
that's
still mad at her about that money.
Well,
I bet you know now. Did you get anybody yet? A new woman. Wife.
have I had a...
Yes.
No, Your
No,
Honor.
nobody wants you. You watching every receipt somebody bring home. You're going to look in every bag the woman bring home. Nobody want that.
Judge, you are absolutely
Thank
right.
you. You're gonna
Nobody
be
wants
alone
me.
for a long
I'm
time.
a lonely man.
You see, I'm a lonely man, and you're going to stay that way as long as your fist stay closed like that. All right. And how old are you?
I'm 71 years
Oh, you
old.
definitely got to pay. What you think that's why you ain't getting nothing. These young girls, you got to pay them. You 71?
That's right.
What you thought you was going to get freebies at 71?
Well,
You
Judge,
are a sugar daddy.
Coming up,
Judge, this is elder abuse. Please.
Elder
I
Bruce.
represent those statements. I mean,
You represent those statements. You're watching Mathis Court with Judge Mathis. This is Mathis Court with Judge Mathis.
Mathis Court is back with the case of Brandon Lawrence, who was suing his son, Harry Lawrence, for unpaid rent.
That's why you ain't getting nothing. You won't embrace the fact that that's what you are now. You ain't nothing but a sugar daddy.
Judge, this is elder abuse. Please.
Elder Bruce.
I represent those statements. I mean,
You represent those statements. That mean I am.
Judge, all I want to do is have a son grow up, be autonomous, and make the world and find work that will help make the world a better place. And I think he needs to be honest with his father. When my ex-wife moved in, I would have appreciated a little acknowledgement of that fact. That's all I wanted. When I found out after the fact, yeah, it hurt.
You put the young man in the middle. His mother may have said, don't tell your dad because he's still mad at me, or he's whatever, he'll act whatever. And what do you think he's going to do? You're not there. She in his face every day. So he's going to do what she suggests.
That's right.
Now, if it was the opposite, he would probably do the opposite. I think he would withhold he would do whatever you ask to keep the peace. If you said, don't tell your mom I moved in here, he's not going to tell her. If she said, don't tell your dad I'm living here, you know he's still mad with me, he's not going to do it. And he shouldn't. Y'all putting him in the middle. When you say that, if you even say that to him, you put him in the middle.
Coming up,
You've moved another person in without telling me. She needs to move out. My son, whom I love very much, you can stay. She needs to go.
You're watching Mathis Court with Judge Mathis. This is Mathis Court with Judge Mathis.
Mathis Court is back with a case of Brandon Lawrence, who was suing his son, Harry Lawrence, for unpaid rent.
Judge, that I want to disagree with you. When we had our divorce, the court gave me full custody of our children. She was not allowed custody, but I gave her any time she wanted to see the kids.
So how did he break the lease, sir?
He broke the lease. When I found out she was there, I said, your lease says single tenant occupancy, and you've moved another person in without telling me. She needs to move out. My son, whom I love very much, you can stay, she needs to go. And within a few weeks, he decided that they would both move out. They both
All right, so
found
this
better
wasn't
jobs.
an eviction. It was the threat of a future eviction if you do not come back into compliance with what I believe we agreed to. In other words, if you don't come back into a compliance with this lease and have no one living with you, is that in the lease? That he can't have anyone living with him?
It is.
Okay, fine. Then you say if you can't do that, I may have to evict you. But you wanted to stay there, right? If your mom could stay there, you all wanted to stay, and all you should worry about is your rent.
And in my lease, it says that I can have immediate family members with me.
There you go. I told you it's your beef with him. It has in the lease. Who has a copy of the lease, please, Andrew? Get it for me. He just said what it was. And the other part, sir, what has occurred here is what we call in the law constructive eviction.
How will Judge Mathis rule? Find out when Mathis Court returns.
You're watching Mathis Court with Judge Mathis. This is Mathis Court with Judge Mathis. So I'm going to conclude this is a constructive eviction because, one, it says immediate family members are allowed. Certainly mama's an immediate family member, and you're not going to want her to stay there. And him staying there, allowing his mom to do so as the lease allows, would create an adverse relationship. And an adverse relationship is what allows people to escape a commitment, because that continuous adverse relationship could put either of the tenants in harm's way or cause them consistent emotional distress. So he rightfully moved. Have a good day. Claim dismissed. He rightfully moved. This was a constructive eviction because you can't get along with your ex-wife. If you were able to get along with her and they'd have been able to stay there together, you'd have still been getting your rent. But you still worried about her because you can't find nobody else. You shouldn't have let her go in the first place. You should have just tried to help get her some shopping rehab. Instead, you want to run off. And now you say, what? I'm so lonely. You're going to stay longer. Have a good day. Claim dismissed.
Judge Mathis has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim has been dismissed.
I'm sorry it had to be this way.
Well, I love you, son, and no matter what you do in the future, I know you'll make the world
I love you
a
too,
better
Dad.
place to live.
Thank you.
Step this way.
This has been a production of Allen Media Group.